You can see in front of you an example of a Year 8 piece of work where they've been experimenting with blending colour families together using different media. And in this video I'm going to show you how to blend different colour families together and how to place colour carefully within your composition. Before you use a colour family, you need to know what one is. So a colour family is simply a set of colours that blend together, that work together, and there are three basic colour families. There's a warm colour family with reds, oranges, yellows, and a cool colour family with greens, blues and purples. And there's also a neutral colour family as well. And artists use colour families to create mood, depth and add contrast to their work. You can see here I've created three examples of colour families in real life, and these are really useful if you're struggling to remember which colours go within each colour family. So for instance here, this image of a sunset would remind you that there's yellow, orange and red within the red colour family, and that there's light blue, dark blue, maybe purple within the blue colour family, and a yellow, a light green and a dark green within the green colour family. So you can use those just to boost your memory if you are struggling to remember. The next thing you need to do is separate your colours into the individual colour families, and you can see here in the red colour family I've got red, orange, yellow, and then for a darker tone a purple or a brown. For the green colour family I've got a green, a dark green, a light green and a yellow, and then either a blue or a brown to add a darker tone. And in the blue colour family I've got a purple, a dark blue and a light blue, and then either a black or a brown to add a darker tone. The next thing you need to do in deciding how to use colour families within your piece of work is to look at your observation to begin with. Now you can see here I've got individual shapes placed onto a piece of paper, okay, and it's been photographed and then desaturated. So in order to highlight these shapes from the background, I'm going to use a different colour family for the foreground, for the shapes, for the positive aspects, and use a different colour family for the negative space for the background, and that will help those shapes stand out. So I'm going to use a warm colour family on the shapes and a cool colour family in the background. In addition to that, you can see that some of the shapes have got areas of shadow, okay, because they're 3D shapes. So where there are shadows, I'm going to use a darker tonal range within that colour family. Okay, so rather than it being yellowy for the red colour family, I'm going to use a sort of more orangey based colour family on that section. Okay, and that will help those shapes look more realistic and have a more realistic form. Okay, so now I'm going to get started. So first thing I'm going to do is separate my warm colour family so that I can see I've got all the colours ready and I'm only going to be using the right colours. So I've got yellow, orange and red. And I'm going to start on one of the darker areas, one of the areas of shadow within this shape, within this deltoid. Okay, and I'm going to begin pressing quite lightly. So if you press too hard to begin with, you'll find that it's difficult to blend the colours together. Okay, so I'm just going to use red to define the sort of the shape of it. I'm going to work slightly more heavily on the outside, and then I'm just going to use a lighter pressure as I get towards the end of the shape. Then I'm going to pick up my orange, and with the orange, instead of working just here where I haven't got any red, I'm going to work over some of the existing red that I've put on. And that's why you need to have a light pressure, so that when you layer the colours on top of each other, there is still some paper beneath them so that both colours can adhere to the paper. And then I'm going to extend the orange a little bit from where the red was so that it's just orange. And because this was an area of shadow, I'm not going to have too much yellow. I'm going to put a little bit on, but I'm not going to have too much because it is a darker part of my composition. Okay, now because I've worked lightly, what that means is that I can then work back onto what I've got and adjust the tone. So I'm going to make that a little bit darker. And again I'm going to add another layer of orange, and the more light layers that you put on, the smoother result you're going to get in the end. I'm just going to work that orange into that little section there just so the shape is a bit more defined. And you could at that point, if you wanted to, like I said, you can use a darker tone. You could add a little bit of purple or brown or blue to make it more dramatic. Okay. Then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work onto some of the negative space. Now you can see when I put my hand on this piece of paper, shadows are being created. And when this shape was put onto this piece of paper, there would be a shadow beneath it. Therefore, the section closest to this shape is going to be in shadow. So I'm going to use the darker colour within the blue colour family, which is going to be the purple. So you can see I've got those ready there. Now I'm going to go straight ahead and use the purple. I'm going to work in a few different directions. And I'm just going to lightly go this way, and I'm going to lightly go that way. And that'll mean that you're not getting any definite lines. And we work over both of them at a diagonal. Now it's important that you don't press too hard with the purple, because you want it to merge with the blue, because it is a blue colour family. Okay, so we're going to put the dark blue on top of the purple this time, so that the whole thing becomes just a darker blue, not necessarily a purple. Again, I'm going to work in all different directions so that I get a smoother result. And then now I've got to the edge of the purple, I'm just going to define that shape a little bit there so that I know where it is. Then I'm just going to work with this dark blue. I'm going to try and keep the tone the same so that it's not becoming darker here, a darker pressure, a heavier pressure, and therefore a darker tone than it was here. So trying to match up that tonal value between what you've got and where you're going to. Okay, and then I'm just going to press a little bit lighter and lighter and lighter as I get towards the edge of this space. Then I'm going to use the light blue here. So there'll be an area where it's just the light blue, and then I'm going to work the light blue over into the dark blue so that those colours are merging. Now I can see from here, from where I'm looking at, I can see I've still got quite a bit of purple and then the light blue, and I want to make a little bit more gradual change. So I'm just going to work back onto this with the dark blue. Particularly over the border of where the purple was, because that's where the blue should be coming out. Okay, and then I'm just going to make this area slightly darker. I'm going to go over a harder pressure now that I'm more confident, and I've got some of my layers on already, so those colours are already merged. Okay, and then you can use the same approach on your different sections of your shapes and in your different negative space to define that composition.